Man, I really wish I had a fucking theme song. Oh shit, I think we're live.
We are.
Okay. Hey, episode 2, bitches. Here we go. Anyway, so last episode I did a little piece, no pun intended, on a Bigfoot's
Yes, it
dick.
is. Don't even lie. Don't even lie. That was intentional.
Yeah, it was.
It
Anyway, so I released it out into the world, and I brought to the light a topic that was grossly ignored by the general cryptid community: the elephant in the room, the elephant's trunk in the room of Bigfoot's dick. Now, when that video was released, my partner in crime here, Jason McLean, saw said video and messaged me and said, "Boy, do I have some information for you." And I'm like,
I do.
"Oh, sir, please bring it." So Jason has prepared some presentation materials. I have not previewed any of them, so my reactions are going to be live. And today, Jason is going to show me what he knows about a Bigfoot's dick. So, Jason.
So there is actually a couple of reasons why a lot of people don't talk about this.
Okay.
It isn't that it isn't discussed in the community amongst those of us who are a little bit more scientifically inclined, right? Then there's a topic I'm going to save for the end because it is a point of discussion, but there's an obvious limitation. However, this is one of the issues that we've addressed and that I'm trying to figure out how to fix, right? Because there's so many podcasts and shows on the paranormal and cryptozoological, but they're done from an entertainment perspective, and in many ways, people who are laymen, this is not an insult, I'm just saying their exposure to this stuff is very superficial and doesn't, it hasn't really gone into the anatomy of this. So here's the thing. Yeah, there are plenty of accounts of people seeing and describing the male genitalia of said Sasquatch. However, the reason it doesn't occur very often, I think, is due to two things. First, well, actually three very specifically. The first is when you are seeing one of these creatures, you are instantly, you go into prey mode because you understand, I mean, PREY, because you understand you are prey at that point. You are not at the top of the food chain.
Yeah.
Like if you were to see a lion or a tiger or a bear, you're looking at overall body language and you're watching the eyes and the teeth because that's what's going to come for you. The eyes is telling you what it's looking at. Its teeth is going to tell you, what it wants to do with you, and the overall body language as well. You're not focused on genitalia. It could be male, it could be female. You may not know. And again, these things are happening within like 10, 15 seconds, right? Like my pterosaur encounter was only probably 15, 20 seconds, 30 max, right?
Yeah.
So again, I didn't get a lot of fine detail, but it was enough to know what I was looking at wasn't a heron. A lot of these encounters are very, very short, so you don't get time to really grasp it all. Your brain is immediately going to fight or flight, and it's trying to figure out, do you need to run? Do you need to, like, what do you need to do here? So you're looking at the eyes, you're looking at the teeth, and you're looking at overall body language, right? You're kicked into survival mode.
Yeah.
Second reason why there is less conversation or descriptions of a Bigfoot's wing dang doodle is the fact that I think most that are actually encountered are female.
Okay.
The vast majority are going to be now. The thing is, well, then why don't we describe breasts more often? Well, here's the thing: unless they've got milk in them, right? Like Patty, a lot of people have speculated that Patty was, because of the pendulous breast, that she was nursing at the time, because there's a lot of additional weight around her hips and buttocks for those who are a little bit more scientifically inclined. And so there's just seems to be a little bit more body fat on her. So a lot of people think that she was either probably not pregnant, but she was still nursing. And so primates, if you notice, most primates, particularly primate females tend to have much smaller breasts than human females.
When they're not nursing.
So,
because they got like those pancake looking things.
Well, some don't even have that.
Yeah.
Like some females, particularly if they've never nursed before, they're much smaller in size. And
Those
so
are
I think a
called,
lot of
by the way, those are
sorry.
called, for the people listening at home, pancake titties.
You can do better than that.
That's just what they're called. I'm not saying I'm trying to do
Okay.
a bit here. I'm just saying that's what they're called. Pancake
Okay.
titties.
All right. I just think you could do better. Just
I
saying.
mean, I could bring some maple syrup if you want.
I think the Sasquatch already does that for you. Anyway, so I think a lot of, and again, it would make more sense that you would run across females more often for
Mhm.
two reasons. Females of any, particularly primates, right? You
Mhm.
get more females than males in general, right? As far as, because one male can impregnate multiple females and continue the line.
Okay.
That's like, I mean, most troops, majority are going to be female. Also, particularly females who have nursed, baby brain is a real thing. Anyone who has kids, baby brain's a real thing.
Hmm.
And I do think females tend to be less aggressive, and so they're more willing to kind of like see, they're more likely to either just be focused on trying to get food for kids or whatever.
Hmm.
So there's, and they're also the ones more likely to be drawn in to check out the sounds of females and children playing. They're more willing to come in and be attracted and just kind of check it out. It's like, oh, hey, I hear kids and other females. It's a less threatening situation, so they're going to go investigate.
Mhm.
I think the reason a lot of people don't talk about seeing, male genitalia often is because it's females that are actually being seen the most often.
Okay.
There's a third, I think probably the most important reason beyond fight or flight and the number of male versus female sightings is that most people aren't furries, and so they're not really preoccupied with Bigfoot genitals. That's it. I mean, now we know that your body pillow has Chewbacca on it. I mean, you've admitted that finally with your last episode. So I'm just saying, I think the simple fact of the matter is most people aren't furries, and so they're not like, ooh, how you doing there, Bigfoot? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, right?
I'm not saying I'm getting any rocks off of it or anything. I'm
Uh-huh.
just saying if
Sure you're not.
the accounts that I've heard are true, and if they are as big as people claim they are, we should be hearing about it more often in all of these podcasts and on these shows where people go into serious detail about what the Bigfoot actually looks like, right? When they describe it head to toe. Once they get
But
down to the
again,
wang area, there should be mention of the wang. There is no mention of the
well,
wang. And it seems a little
y-
disingenuous to me, if I'm to be honest.
well, we have more than just
Uh-oh.
accounts.
Okay, so introduce this one to me. Tell me what this is about before we start
So
it.
this is a video. It's called the Redwoods video. It's been around for a long time. Again, like everything, it's alleged. It's an alleged video of Bigfoot at night, and I'm just going to push play. So essentially, this was a camera that was set up, and
Okay.
and where it's coming from is this creature allegedly was raiding the camp for food. Right.
Okay.
I will press play now.
Oh, there it is.
Yep. I'm going to rewind it real quick. It's the very beginning. Watch it very carefully.
Okay.
Did you see it?
Oh, I saw it. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's that magnificent piece.
So it's not just accounts, sir. It's not just
We have
accounts.
video evidence.
We have video evidence.
My God. It has been caught on tape for the world to
Mhm.
see. And how come this
Mhm.
video isn't more popular or more discussed, Jason McLean?
I go back to point 3. Most people aren't furries.
Man, we got that Patterson, Gimlin film going around that everyone knows about, but this one goes under the radar because it's got dick in it.
Yes. We're
That's a
okay with
damn
pendulous
shame.
breasts. Well, I mean, but think about it. How many people even realize that Patty's got boobs? Like, she's got some loaded mammaries flinging around. Most people don't even notice that. So, just saying.
Damn. I didn't realize we had video evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just swinging around. I mean, that
Yep.
was a respectable sized member there, sir.
Well, and so here's the thing. Like I said, this is one of the dangers of this subject only basically being addressed by, again, no insult intended, but laymen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there is a large conversation amongst cryptozoologists who want to go deep on Bigfoot physiology, and one of the big questions that has arisen is whether or not Bigfoot has a baculum. And for those who don't know what a baculum is, it is most mammals. Well, I'll say many. I don't know if it's exactly most. I think it's actually most, but at least many species of mammals have penis bones. These are calcified rods like this. I think this one's from a dog. I couldn't find chimpanzee or gorilla baculum, but these are bones that are in an animal. They're in a mammal's penis, and it helps it to maintain erection. Where humans use blood volume and blood pressure, most mammals use bones. And again, primates, this is actually one of those things that's sort of a big point of conversation between on human ape physiology, is why humans don't have a baculum, because we are the odd men out, literally, in the animal kingdom. We don't have it. In fact, there's an argument that is made. I don't agree with it at all. I think it's a forced argument, but there's an argument that when it talks about the Adam's rib, that the rib was a euphemism for a baculum.
So then the female has our baculum. They jacked our baculums.
Right. And that's why humans don't have a baculum, but virtually every other mammal does. Now, I think that's really forcing the argument, because we see no matter how far back you go, it is very clear the ancients said that Eve was made from his side, right? And you can argue if that's a rib or not specific, but it's like, no, it's clear at no point did anybody think this was a baculum, right? So I'm just saying, but the controversy of human versus why humans don't have a baculum and apes do is a big one in science in general. But in Bigfoot, it's a really big question, because truth be told, if they have a baculum, then that makes them ape and not human. However, if they have no baculum, if they use blood pressure the way humans do, they'd be human.
Then they'd be closer to us. So wait,
Correct.
all other known apes have baculums, like gorillas,
At least,
orangutans, chimps?
yeah, most, I will say most primates that I'm aware of have them. There may be like tarsiers, or some of these smaller pygmy monkeys may not have them. My understanding is that they do, but I may be wrong on it. But chimpanzees, gorillas, most apes, again, most mammals have some form of baculum. That's a raccoon baculum. Like I said, most mammals have baculum. I don't know about like whales. Actually, I could probably hold on. Let me see. I've got it up here. Yeah, many placental mammals. Yeah. So it says some primates, not all primates, but some primates have them. So again, but yeah, your chimpanzees, your gorillas, they've got them. Walruses have them. Those things are 22 inches long.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but a lot of some of that's internal, right? That's not the actual like length of the dick.
That's the bone is 22 inches. Yeah, so it's not the entirety of it, but in many ways, it actually means that it's maybe a little bit larger. But yeah, no, the baculum is it's an interesting piece of physiology when it comes to just how mammals work, because humans are literally we're one of the few species that doesn't have a baculum as far as placental mammals go. So there is a big question in the field of cryptozoology as to whether or not Bigfoot has a baculum. Now the problem is, until we have a body, there's no way to know. There's just isn't, right? There's no way you could speculate as to whether or not it has because it's not like the penis is always erect, right? That's the purpose of the bone, is to help it stay erect, whereas we would just use blood pressure. But it does kind of move back and forth.
And occasionally Viagra.
Yeah, exactly. Which is just an artificial way of doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, so the problem is, until we have a body, there's no way for us to know. But it would, I mean, if we couldn't get genetics, right? But if we knew it has a baculum or it doesn't, then that would put it very squarely on one side or the other as far as hominology. Is it an ape? Is it human? And I know a lot of people say, well, humans are apes. I'm sorry. That's just, and we'll do a video on this over on Questions Everything. That's just a straight up lie. Like,
because
I'm
there's
sorry.
other things. Yeah. There's other things about the human physiology that sets us apart from standard.
Oh, there's a ton of things. So many things. It's like the lie of, well, we share 98% of our genome. That's an absolute lie, because for example, again, very, very quickly, so we'll do a whole video so you can see the evidence of it. Essentially, it's 98%, depending on how you count what constitutes a percentage of a change, right? And also when you remove the parts that don't match, seriously, like they were like, they're like, well, this stuff doesn't match, so we'll get rid of it because we don't know what it does. It's probably just junk DNA. There's no such thing as junk DNA. That's what we're finding out. But like there are sections of our genome where, yes, we have an identical section, right? But here's the thing, like the chimpanzee, right, supposed to be the closest one, they have 2 of that same section. Okay, so is that what percentage of a change do you call that? Because that seems pretty substantial, right? If a whole section is essentially duplicated, that's a big deal. And they'll say, well, it's this, and then there's other sections like, well, this section is identical except it's reversed. So instead of A, B, C, D, E, it's D. I can't even count backwards. But again, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, it's 4, 3, 2, 1, right? So it's the same data but reversed. Well, how do you count? Like, how do you quantify the percentage of difference that is? Because we don't know. Again, it's ATCG. I think it's GTAC. Like, those are the so like I said, we'll do it so you can actually see it. But the simple fact of the matter is, like, how do you calculate what percentage of difference that causes between us and apes? Like, that's a substantial difference. Here's where it gets worse. Let's say we have the identical section, right? So here's a paragraph and it's the same thing, but on the genome, it's in a different location. How do you calculate what percentage that is? Because
they're just counting it as just being there, right? They're not really considering the idea of it being in where it lies in the genome.
Yeah. A lot of geneticists that are, when they're honest, when they're not having to make an argument for evolution per se, when they think it's closer to like 60%. Like it's and
and if you go by those standards, then like a fucking piece of like broccoli has like 90% of our genome, right? Like,
exactly
by that standard. Interesting.
Well, by that standard, they would say then a cake is the same thing as a pie. That a cherry pie is the same thing as a cherry cake. That's literally what they would be saying. It's like, no, these are 2 radically different things. Do they have the same ingredients? Yes. But it's different proportions. It's arranged differently, created differently, and creates a very different product. One of the things that separates us, the reason, again, we may have much of the same material, yes, but it's done very, very differently. We are very different from the apes, and the baculum is one of those things. So when it comes to Bigfoot, the presence of the baculum, if we couldn't even get genetics from it, again, if we know it's got a baculum, we'll get genetics. But If we couldn't get genetics, if we had the baculum, we would know whether or not
Hey, by the time you get close enough
it's
to
human or not.
Bigfoot to figure out whether or not it's got a baculum, oh, believe me, you'll be getting
You,
plenty of genetic material.
you'll have plenty of genetic
Yeah.
material. Yep, exactly.
Yep.
That's all I'm saying. Like it's one of those questions that'll answer itself pretty quickly. You know, particularly with a lot of vigorous study. But yeah, it's absolutely one of those things. Again, the male Bigfoot, again, on the physical ones, right? Assuming that they are a procreative biological species, yeah, the penis is an interesting, but the problem is we just have no way of knowing, so it's just sort of shelved and put to the back of the rack. Sort of
Because
you know,
people, you know,
there's no way to answer the
maintain,
question. Yeah,
they got to maintain their audience.
well, it's not even that. Again, it's the problem is this is a conversation most laymen don't know, and they're like, and people will say, "How can you call these people who have shows laymen?" Because they are. I'm sorry. That's not me dissing anyone, right? It's just most people who are in this space are not coming at it from that perspective. And so, you know, there's a lot of topics that they aren't really aware of. And again, it's kind of an esoteric question, because again, even most, you know, cryptozoologists who are more into that kind of thing, there's just no way to answer it. So it's just a thing that just gets shelved, and we're like, well, it's there. Well, but it's a part of conversation.
Yeah. The last episode I did, I mentioned that there was one show in particular where someone, I'm not going to mention who it is. I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
But yeah, this one guest on this one show actually brought up the topic of you know, Bigfoot's junk, and you should have seen the way the entire chat room turned on this guy. I mean, people flipped out. They were offended. They were like, we can't have this kind of talk in this respectable sphere of conversation. We need to get this degenerate off our show. This guy's bringing up genitalia.
Well, again, the question becomes, again, I go back to most people aren't furries, so most people don't spend a lot of time thinking about Bigfoot's red rocket.
If you saw one standing in front of you, and it was just hanging down by its knees, though, don't you think you would eventually? Okay, you know, whoa, it's got.
It would depend on the time. It would depend on how long I have to look at this thing, because again, my eyes are going to where its eyes are, and it's, again, like I said, if I see a Bigfoot, I'm in fight or flight, because it's an 800-pound apex predator.
Yeah.
The only time I'm going to be concerned about its schlong is if it's erect, because if it's erect, I got a whole other set of problems.
Then that's your number one problem,
and then that becomes my number. Yeah. Then I'm going to, yes, I will be. Then I will be paying a lot more attention to that particular physical part of his physiognomy, because I may have an entirely different set of problems that I'm going to need to deal with. But again, if I see an 800-pound apex predator, my concern is the eyes and the teeth and the overall body language. Everything else, I just don't care, because I would like to survive the event. Again, like most people, they're not being like, so what are you packing? They're in fight or flight. And again, I think the vast majority of people are running across females. They just are. It's more, you're more likely to run across one, numerically speaking, and then, you know, the rest of the time it's just most people, you know, when they are, they're just, that's not where they're looking, because they ain't furries, right? They want to survive. Now, let's grab a bunch of furries, throw them out there in costume, and see if they can draw in a Bigfoot. We may have a very different conversation here pretty soon. That's all I'm saying.
So with all this talk about the baculum, what you're saying is Bigfoot's dick might hold the key to understanding its origin.
Yes, like most things, genitals are very telling. Just saying.
Yeah, they are indeed. I used to have this dog. His name was Bopi. He was a Maltese. This was back when I was living in Korea, and he was neutered, so he had no reason to. But this thing was out to hump, whatever, right? And he had, like, you know, the red crayon. But the thing is, you know, a Maltese, they're like, what, 10 pounds?
if that.
This thing, when it was at attention, was like all the way up to its head. I mean, this thing looked like, when it was out, it looked like a tuning fork.
Weird.
It was so big on such a little dog. I couldn't believe it. And he was always trying to hump everything. So yeah,
Are you
it
sure they
was.
got everything when they neutered him? I'm just saying, it seems. Although my sister had a Pomeranian, he was neutered, and he just everything, just every dang thing.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
dogs are funny like that sometimes.
Yep.
But
Well,
okay,
a lot of primates are too. So again, I go back to, it may, like, there's, okay, and again, on a serious note, there's a lot of accounts of people claiming that Bigfoot would abduct women. Like, that's in the literature. Now, I will say this: that tends to be more found in First Nations lore. And what's interesting is very similar stories were told in Africa about gorillas. So it does seem like very large primates tend, this mythology of these unknown, the wild men coming and taking women. It seems to be pretty deeply ingrained. So I don't know that we can say, yes, Bigfoot absolutely has this behavior, but it's possible that it is. That this is more than just
yeah,
it may just be more. It may be far more than just a tale. And it is interesting. In fact, this is one of the things I won't get into the backstory of it, but we see often, even in like The Legend of Boggy Creek, like, go back, if you rewatch that movie, how many women are the ones where Bigfoot is coming to them? Because like all of the men, they're out in the woods hunting, or the Bigfoot crosses the street and while they're driving, or it's a pig farmer, right? Like, literally every time there is a sighting in Boggy Creek and it's a male, it's because it's because a male is hunting and in their natural element, or they're crossing a street, or they're coming to they're stealing some, I forget the farmer's name. They're stealing his hogs. However, the females, when it's a girl, there's these things, the creature, the Falk monster's coming to them. And there's children involved in multiple occasions where they're two very different types of encounters. So, and I've got plenty of accounts of, again, Bigfoot. I'm starting to question which ones are actually Bigfoot because, for all the conversations we've had on Texas Front Porch and on Questions Everything a lot, I'm really starting to question how many of these are actually Bigfoot encounters. But for right now, we'll call them all Bigfoot encounters. I've got several accounts of women who, when they go to particular, cabins that they own as a family, if there's a woman, if there's a woman there, that Bigfoot is watching and is seen by people. So again, is it actually a Bigfoot? Is it something else? I don't know. But if we associate it with Bigfoot, and there's reason to think that it is a Bigfoot, they seem very interested in females. So while I'm sort of 50, maybe 60-40. I think 60% is probably just lore that we see pop up in other locations at other times. It seems like a pretty universal fear. However, I ain't gonna write that off. I'm just not going to write it off because there's enough weird in the overall science. So again, maybe it's got, maybe Bigfoot males have whether they've got a baculum or not, they want to make certain that thing's getting used.
Yeah. You know what I've always wanted to see, not to be a victim of, but kind of see Bigfoot do this to other people. I just want to see Bigfoot go buck wild and fuck shit up, Just go beast mode. Just like attack like a group of people and just go like full clip. Like, I want to see what kind of damage a Bigfoot can do when it's really like maximum level, like beast mode. Just, okay, I'm gonna fuck up this group of people. I'm gonna jump in the middle, and it's it's Bruce Lee time, right? And he just, because you always hear stories about Bigfoots kind of attacking, maybe attacking, or if you hear about a Bigfoot attack, you hear about the aftermath.
Right.
I want to see Bigfoot go full clip. I want to see him straight up rip a tree out of the ground and fucking baseball bat a dude, across a forest. Like, I want to see what Bigfoot is capable of. Full clip.
Again, if this particular
I don't
account
want to be
is
the
to be
victim of it.
believed,
I would watch it.
right?
I would be a spectator.
We're learning a lot of things about your interests here, Donald. But if there is an account, there is an account of them just trashing a bulldozer site where they moved, and substantially one of the buckets that was used on the earth movers, like they were tipping over earth movers. These are things in the tens of tons. Like, these are not light things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is one of those things where these creatures would have superhuman strength. We humans have governors in our brains, essentially, right? So we don't use our full strength because for fine motion, right? Like, we can write, we can do delicate fine work. Primates are completely incapable of the type of fine work we can do because one of those big differences, our brains have governors in them that prevent us from using our full strength. When we talk about humans seemingly having superhuman strength to save someone or whatever because the adrenaline's flowing,
that's when the adrenaline get shut off. Yeah,
exactly. All the adrenaline's doing is shutting off that governor so you can have access to your full potential. That's all it does. So if Bigfoot is more closely related to apes, and I think there's a good possibility for that, then you're talking about something that's 800 pounds and has zero governor in their brain. These things would have what we would consider superhuman strength. Look at a chimpanzee. Look what a chimpanzee can do when they're, I mean, I know people are like, oh, it's cute, we can have them as pets. No, these things will chew your face off.
No, you can't. No.
Oh, people have them, but I'm just saying it's nuts. Primates will. I have seen video of gorillas doing some nuts things, and given some of the feats that are accounted towards a Bigfoot, it would appear that they have no governor and essentially superhuman strength. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to watch it because it would get bad like near instantaneously. Like, I mean, it would go from 0 to as bad as it can get that fast, because those things, if they are more closely related to apes and they've got superhuman strength, essentially, if it can find you and catch you, and it can, then you're not surviving that. Like, it's going to look like the Hulk in the first Avengers movie with Loki, where it's just whack, whack. Like, that's it. That's all it's going to be.
You just rip people in half.
Yeah. Or worse. I mean, because there are accounts of these things killing hogs by jumping on them and pounding them with their fists. If you don't know, if you've never seen an adult hog, a feral hog, these are not little bitty piggies. These things are substantial. To be able to beat a hog to death, you're literally like the Lou Ferrigno style Hulk.
I just saw a video this morning of a black bear that snuck into like this farmer's pen, and this one pig, domesticated pig, by the way, chased out a fucking black bear.
Yeah.
It was like, get the fuck out of here. And that black bear just bounced.
They don't want a hassle. Look, pigs are, again, this is one of those things that people don't understand. When I start, if you're a Texan, if you're a Southerner, but if you're a Texan, you understand. There are very few things that I'm worried about, that I'm afraid of. When I'm in the woods, like when we're over there at Brown Springs, when I have my gun on me, it's not because I'm worried about a Bigfoot. It's not that I'm worried about, because we've had bear sightings there. I'm not worried about the black bears. Black bears are basically big dogs. I will not recommend trying to hug one. It's still a friggin' bear. I'm not even worried about the cougars or the alleged tigers that are loose up there from the Tiger King Sanctuary. I'm worried about the hogs. No, technically it's in Oklahoma.
Oh,
But it's on the other side of the Red River. It's the part of Texas we didn't want, so take it for what it is.
oh.
But it's the hogs. It is the feral hogs that I'm the most worried about, because the thing that's most likely to attack is a feral hog. The list goes like this: humans, feral hog, then maybe cougar, then the bear, and then a deer in rut. A male deer in rut will attack, and they'll mess you up fast. Don't ever mess with a white-tailed deer if it's in rut. It'll mess you up fast.
Have you ever eaten feral pig meat?
Come to think of it, I don't think I have.
Oh, I was just wondering. I wonder how it tastes. I heard it was like not as
probably
good.
Gamey.
Yeah,
it would be gamier because they're more active. So here's the thing: like they're legal to kill, pretty much whenever, because they're a problem. The only issue I have with them is they're more likely to have a lot of parasites, and there's some interesting parasites that have popped up that we're worried about. So I'm less inclined to eat a feral hog.
Damn, them Bigfoot be hunting them, and they're eating that shit raw. They must be chock full of parasites.
Interesting point. There's an act. I mean, he's a real actual scientist. He works for the state of Washington, who claims that he has recovered what he believes to be Bigfoot scat, and he says it has no. Now, again, it's Pacific Northwest. He says it has no parasites, which I'm really suspicious of, because if you're telling me that there's scat from a wild creature with no parasites, we got issues, because everything's got parasites in the wild. Everything does. So he's claiming it's evidence that they're eating things that cleanse the parasites. And I'm like, okay, so I want to interview the guy, because I got a lot of questions about what they could possibly be eating to cleanse themselves of parasites.
So how did they find? So they found Bigfoot scat. How did they find out? Tell me the story about that.
So again, I haven't interviewed the gentleman yet, so I'll keep the details to what I can remember off the top of my head. But essentially, he worked for the state of Washington. He was one of their sort of forestry people, but he focused on animals. They had gotten accounts of some kills, and they were about with some of the younger, like elk, I think. And so they were going out to investigate these kill sites because they shouldn't be there. And they started noticing that within very close proximity to these kill sites, they were finding large, just turds, massive turds, like the size of Coke cans.
Damn.
And they found
Bigfoot. So
right, exactly. Well, and they found them, and so he was like, okay, we're going to take samples, because we don't know what this is. It's scat, but we don't know what it is or where it's from, because it doesn't match any. You can tell a species by its scat. You absolutely can. So they took it, and he's researched it. Apparently he's had it for, again, a long time. Like, this is not a new thing. But again, it's one of those conversations that isn't had on a lot of paranormal things, because they just don't know about him. So yeah, I want to actually have him on and interview him, because the parasite thing bothers me a lot, because let's assume they are intelligent enough to consume natural antiparasitics. Okay,
maybe some kind of weird mushroom or something,
right? Well, the question becomes, how much would they have to eat, and is there anything they could actually really get rid of parasites from the scat so completely? Like, that's a big question I have. Is there anything naturally occurring there that could do it, and how much would they have to eat? Because again, the whole Bigfoot question revolves around, there's clearly a paranormal aspect to the phenomena that we're calling Bigfoot, right? And my working theory is that there's a physical creature, and then there's a much larger paranormal phenomena that is either deliberately masquerading as Bigfoot, or we are making it into Bigfoot, right? However, the zero parasite thing bothers me, because it almost implies a form of supernatural existence to not have parasites? Right? Like, I mean, I'm certain I'm hoping there's an answer, but if there isn't a solid answer for me, like that's almost a mark against it being a naturally existing
But it's
biological
weird
entity.
because if it was that it didn't have parasites because of a supernatural reason, then it shouldn't even be shooting in the first place, right?
So that's my problem, right?
Yeah.
Is my entire argument for there being both, I mean, there's clearly evidence for paranormal stuff, but for there being a naturally existing biological creature, right? My entire argument is predicated upon a particular bias that supernatural creatures wouldn't necessarily need to eat. They wouldn't have such obvious primate behavior. Like
Mhm.
like big, there's plenty of stuff where this is just 100% primate behavior.
Mhm.
And so, but here's the thing, those are my biases, right? We've got plenty of accounts of angels taking physical form and eating food,
Yep.
right? So again, what if, and again, Dean has made this point a lot, what if if these creatures are, when a supernatural entity enters into our reality, it has to play by all of the rules. Like we all think
Mm.
angels, can take physical form, but we would see it. I think we sort of imagine them more like holograms, right? Where it's like, yeah, like you go into Star Trek on the holodeck, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you have an object that you're picking up like it's a pen, but it's
Mhm.
not. It is a simulation. It's just it's a hologram of it. It's hard. I think they technically use force fields, I think is their way around it. But essentially, it's an illusion, but it is solid, but it's not real.
Mhm.
It's not like having an actual pen. That's, I think, how we envision an angel taking form. It's like, yeah, it's there, but it's more like an energy construction that has physicality. But I think Dean's question is one that really merits further investigation, which is, if they are entering into our reality, maybe they have to play by all the standards. So they've got a biological body to interact with it, which means it would need to eat crap, and we know they're capable of procreating through the
Mhm.
Nephilim. Now question, becomes, are they, doing it, doggy style, or is it like some sort of supernatural thing that allows them to create the Nephilim? We don't really know.
Mm.
But, if they are able to, if it is like, Kama Sutra style, creating of a Nephilim, then it may be that if an angel becomes physical, then it's not just physical, it is biological, which means Bigfoot could be a paranormal entity, a supernatural entity, a different class of spirit. And when it becomes physical, it's fully biological, which means it has genitalia and blood pressure and needs to eat and take
Mhm.
dumps and urine and all of it. So I mean, these are questions that we just don't have an answer to, which means even the whole baculum question may be completely moot. I tend to think that if you have a dead body, then it's a naturally existing biological creature, right? I think that's a
Mhm.
safe assumption. I
Yeah.
think it's safe. Again, it's a bit of a bias I have, but I think, yeah, we ain't found any angel bodies hanging around with wings and anything. So, not they're actually, again, angels when they appear to people don't actually are never described as having wings. Just the cherubim. But yeah, I mean, this is, if we find a body, yeah, then if there's a baculum, it's probably an ape. If there's no baculum, they're closer to human. But if these things are supernatural and they can take a biological body when they come into our realm of existence, the baculum may not be the definitive answer we think it is. I mean, seriously, like these are the questions
Mhm.
we have. Again, my default, if you can kill it, or if it leaves a body, I would, then yeah, you're probably dealing with a biological entity. Because
Yeah.
again, Dean makes a great point. How many people have talked about shooting Bigfoot and just the bullets don't seem to do anything?
I see a lot of people in the chats talking about what kind of firearm they would bring if they ever encounter a cryptid or go on a cryptid hunt. And then my thought is always, if it was that easy to kill a Bigfoot with a 45 ACP, you think someone would have done it by now? Right?
A 45 ACP would not. I would never shoot it. I mean, unless I had to. If that was all I had, yeah, I wouldn't do anything less than a 44 Magnum. Period. End of story.
But you always hear those conversations. Like in some channels, it's like half the conversation is like, is this a firearm show or is this a cryptid show? Because you seem to only be talking about firearms, people.
Well,
Maybe
and again,
it's an American thing.
Well, it is, but it's also
thing. Yeah.
I mean, it is, but also it's a valid question, right? It's like, look, if you really let's face it, if for this thing to be real and observed and recognized by science, we have to have corpus delicti. We just do. Just that's it. There's got to now. How do you get it? Either this thing's got to die naturally in a place where it can be found, right? Like it has a heart attack because it's had too much hog, and just. But it then has to die somewhere where humans can find it, and within time for humans to find the body, and then have the body drugged back, or it's got to step in front of a Mack truck on a highway. And there have been cases of them being on highways seemingly confused, and there's been more than one account of them hitting smaller cars and causing damage, but them leaving. So it'd have to be something like a semi truck,
or their bodies decay unnaturally fast, right? Because when you brought up the whole idea of the no parasites thing, right, about it being supernatural, what if it's neither natural nor supernatural, but there's an in between that maybe we could use the word unnatural?
Maybe. I mean,
remember back when we did the story of the Beast of Jevodan, and there was one account I didn't bring up, was the story of the guy who supposedly killed it.
Yeah.
Which you may or may not believe, because there's a lot of fishiness behind that story, because it's just one guy's account. But according to that story, when he did finally kill the Beast of Jevodan, and he and the doctor examined it, he actually put it in a box and took it to transport it to the king. But then when he arrived at King Louis XV's place to deliver the body of the Beast of Jevodan, they opened the box and they found out that the whole thing had just decayed into mush, like unnaturally fast.
Like the vampires in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah. So what if that's what happens to Bigfoot's bodies?
You know what? Again, we don't know. We just don't know. So I can't say that's not a possibility. Yeah. Look, I mean, a deer will basically be all but gone within a week of dying in the woods. Like woods are the worst thing.
Not even in the woods, dude. Not even in the woods. Yeah. Like right outside my development, right? Like, you know, I live in the burbs in a townhouse development, and once you go outside, right, and you go into the main road, on that corner there was a dead deer, right? It had been hit by a car, so I passed by this dead deer on the way to work, and in the morning I see a flock of, I guess, buzzards or vultures. I couldn't tell what kind of species of. Sorry, people, I'm not a fucking bird watcher. Okay, some kind of bird that eats. Okay, maybe a vulture or whatever, right? But I saw like 3 or 4 of them just kind of
carrion eaters. Yeah,
they were just kind of watching it off in the distance, right? Just kind of looking at it, right? 6 o'clock rolls around. I drive back past the same spot. That thing is pretty much just stripped down to the bone. I'm like, holy shit, these things work fast.
Oh yeah. It wasn't just them. Everything.
I couldn't believe how fast they worked. I was like, I just saw that thing was totally fresh this morning when I passed it. I walked past like later on in the day at like 5 or 6 p.m.
It's not just them. It's not just, again, they probably ate most of it, but you know what else was eating? What else was scavenging off of that body? Rabbits, squirrels, things you think of as herbivores. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
There is no such thing as an herbivore. There's only less successful omnivores. Everything's an omnivore. Like that's what when we say something's a carnivore, an omnivore, and a herbivore, what we are saying is the vast majority of its diet, right? A bear just eats whatever in the freck it wants. Okay? Because it's a bear, just like we are. We're omnivores. Dogs are omnivores. Now the bulk of their diet is going to be protein, right? Just is. herbivores are designed to eat the majority of their diet as plant matter. But you best believe that if a baby chicken's walking around and a cow, if a mother hen is not paying attention to that cow will absolutely eat that chicken.
Oh yeah,
Like
I've seen
straight up.
videos. I've seen videos of hippos eating dead carcasses.
Oh yeah,
Like lions and
everything.
crocodiles will be eating on one, and then a hippo will just come along and just push them aside and be like, "Get out of here," and then just
Yeah,
go ahead
that's
and
mine.
start chowing down.
Yep.
Do you guys get cicadas?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so we got cicadas real bad last year. Like it was just
Mhm.
raining cicadas, and there were just
Yeah.
cicadas just covering the floor. I remember in my backyard, I was just looking at my window. The whole floor is just blanketed with cicadas, and there were all these squirrels running around eating all these dead cicadas like they were
Yeah.
acorns.
Well,
So yeah,
absolutely.
that
It's
is
free
true. Yeah,
protein.
yeah,
Yeah.
free protein.
Everything will eat everything. It's just what are they better at doing? That's all it is. That is all it is. So yeah, so think about how fast that deer went from dead deer to bone. Okay. And that thing's on the side of the road, which means they're running away from cars, they're getting distracted. It's not, and a lot of things that would scavenge off of that body aren't willing to get that close to the highway. You move that behind the tree line, that carcass is gone. And when I mean gone, I mean the bones are gone within the week.
Yeah.
So forests are the last place for things to stay, and be found. So unless a Bigfoot has a heart attack near humans in a place where humans go, unless it's hit by a Mack truck, it's going to have to be brought down by some dude with a gun. I would never think about doing anything less than a 308. Like if it's like, if that's all, if I have some, again, 44 mag is as small as I would go, because again, we're talking about 800-pound apex predators. If they can be killed, you're going to have to get something pretty substantial. Like I would never dream of using my SKS on a Bigfoot unless I had zero choice. Right. But I would want to have my banana clip fully loaded on that, because the amount of lead I would have to put into it to drop it would be substantial. But
what about a desert eagle?
Unless we actually, what
about a desert eagle? Those are what, 50 cal?
Yeah, they're 50 cal. Okay, so I'm gonna piss some people off. There's a reason people use 44 mags. It just is. I mean, it's possible. I'm again, the 44 mag is the smallest thing I would use. Period. It is the smallest thing I would use. But I mean, yeah, if you want to, again, I think the advantage of the Desert Eagle is you've got a clip that you can empty into it. So yeah, there's big lead and then there's a lot of lead. And so if you ain't got big lead, you need a lot of lead. That's sort of my opinion on the matter.
Because I always thought, like, when I look at Desert Eagles, I'm like, what is the purpose of this gun? Why does this gun even exist? There's no justification for its invention. Like, what need did this design have to fill? But then I thought about it. I was like,
it was created by the Israelis for urban warfare. Sometimes people hide behind things, and you need to get through a thing. That's why it exists.
I'm thinking maybe that would be the perfect Bigfoot hunting, the anti-Bigfoot gun, the anti-Bigfoot handgun.
I'd still go 44 mag, honestly. It's just different. I did see there's a 4-bore. It is a rifle. It is the largest caliber of rifle that has ever been made. It's called a 4-bore. And there's a guy who has one, and he's I mean, it's a completely impractical gun. It is completely impractical. But he's done testing with it to show you just how powerful these bullets are. And I think it's like, I don't think these things were copper coated or copper jacketed. They were just lead. So he has a steel plate outlined that's on a 2x4 that he shoots at for most of his videos. He shoots it with this 4-bore, and of course the dude, he is a big dude. Like, this is not a small man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean he's like I mean he's like built. Like, this is a man that if you're like, you have to fight him, I'd be like, no, you can just take my wallet. Like, I'm not fighting this dude, right? I mean, it moves him back when he pulls the trigger. That's how big this thing is. But it hits this metal plate that's on the 2x4, right? That he shoots at.
Mm-hmm.
It breaks the 2x4. The metal plate that's on it literally moves it off and falls over. The 2x4 is snapped. That's how much kinetic energy this thing has when it hits him. So I mean, they're substantially large. But again, yeah, a 50 cal. Yeah, I mean, if you want to have it with you as an I mean, sure, but I'd go rifle. I mean, honestly, a 308 should bring it down if it's a truly biological, naturally existing biological entity. A 308 will be fine.
I would prefer something I could hold with one hand, because you figure you're going to be in the woods. You're going to have a lot of
too shaky
vegetation around.
No, too shaky.
You're going to want to have one hand free for either like a flashlight or like a machete or
no, you want a rifle, period, in a story. Your handgun, a sidearm, is a backup weapon, period. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is a backup weapon. You want a rifle. There's a reason why we spend so much time on rifles. It's not because they're just bigger and scarier. It's because you can deliver more lead with more accuracy quickly. Because when you have a handgun, again, my stuff's here, but I don't think we can show it on YouTube, right? Like, I've got my 44 mag right here. So here's the thing. When you fire off that 44 mag, right? Again, I'm not a small man. When that thing goes off, my hand goes up and I got to bring it back down. Okay? But if I've got like my 300 Savage, or if I've got a 308, bam, bam, I can bring it right back to where I need it to be much faster. Right. Yeah. And it's you can be more stable because you have your other hand, right? If you're doing it right, your elbow goes into your side, boom, that's your tripod. It's bam, bam. You can real fast. So yeah, no, you want a rifle.
Actually, for me personally, if I ever had to go Bigfoot or dogman hunting, I wouldn't bring a firearm. I would bring a bow.
Okay.
Like a compound bow.
Okay. I'm gonna need you to. Are you tipping them with silver or something? What's the gag here?
No gag. I just think it's classier.
Okay, there's the gag.
I just think
get an elephant gun. Get an elephant gun, dude.
Oh, man.
What's classier than
I want to do it like my ancestors, man. I want to do it like the Mongols. I want to bring it old school. Bow.
Okay, I'm just saying your Mongol ancestors, if they had the option, would bring an elephant gun.
I don't know, man. I don't
know.
I just think bows are classier. That's all. It's classy.
Have you ever actually fired a compound bow? Because I have one.
I have actually. I have.
Okay.
Those are pretty. Yeah, they're pretty cool. Never fired a gun though. Never fired a gun in my life.
When you're down here, we'll find some way to fix that problem.
Oh no, they're scary. They're scary.
Don't puss out on me.
Okay. All right, fine.
They're only scary if you don't understand them. You should, like any weapon, you should have proper respect for it.
Of course.
But yeah, no, being afraid of a gun is just idiotic.
I do know some knife fighting though in my martial arts days. So
excellent.
I do know my way around a knife. I have had experience firing bows. Never fired a gun though.
We'll fix that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So here's my other theory, okay, about Bigfoot that I've been working on. Let me run this one by you, okay? Tell me what you think.
Okay.
So a few years ago, I was talking to a friend of mine, He was telling me
Liar,
a story
continue.
about a time when he was a kid. I think he was like
Yep.
probably 11 or 12 when he was like wandering into woods one day. And because he would play around in the woods, we all did as kids, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And one day in the woods, he stumbles
Mhm.
upon a box of adult magazines. Just randomly.
A lot of us did actually. You know, that's a
Y-
weird.
This is a
That's a
weird
weird
thing,
thing.
right? Because
Kids in
I
the 80s.
remember
Yeah. Yeah. There was, yeah. Porn in the woods was a thing.
Born in the Woods, right? Yeah, I had that experience. I asked my other
Yeah.
friend, they're like, "Yeah, I remember finding like a random box of like Playboys and penthouses like deep in the woods." Like, so that got me
Mhm.
thinking, right? Like, what would be the point of stashing porno mags in the woods? Okay, so you're in the 80s, right? You got this
Yeah.
collection of adult magazines. Let's say you want to hide it from a family member, like a parent or spouse or whatever, right?
Mhm.
There's so many places to hide it instead of having to
Yeah.
put it in a box and march it deep in the woods. That doesn't make sense. And if you are simply trying to dispose of it,
Just
there's
throw
so
it
many
away.
other, just throw it away.
Yeah, like
So that
it's
got me thinking, why are there so many kids in the 80s stumbling upon these stashes of adult magazines in the woods? It's weird. Is there like some kind of like the tooth fairy, like the adult video fairy, like the
adult
adult
video,
magazine
the
fairy,
adult magazine for
who just
we know,
blesses these young, horny preteen boys with the gift of.
you've got
It's
to really no.
weird.
Okay, hold on. That's a really good point. No, like okay, I wasn't expecting this. I was more prepared for penis jokes. That's you know, that's a really great point. Like, where did all like we all everyone I know has some you know, particularly if you live near forests or some wooded areas, they've got a forest porn story. Like for us, it wasn't a box; it was like 2 or 3. But yeah, like what?
Why?
Huh?
So that got me thinking.
All right,
What
yeah.
if?
Like now, I got to mull over this. Continue.
What if these adult magazines are actually like currency for Bigfoot?
Okay, I see the joke. I see the punchline, but I know you're only half kidding on this. See, this is the thing. Everyone's like, okay, so this is the joke that he's making. He is, but Donnie's half honest about this. This is not entirely a joke for him.
Mm-hmm. It's not a bit.
Okay, I will say, I don't think it would be anything like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they'd be interested. Again, if they are naturally occurring biological entities,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if they would be interested in it. And maybe they're stealing it from trash can or whatever, and they're
Or
leaving it out
maybe they
there.
have some kind of human contact that's offering them up as a
Like there's some
form of
secret.
currency for some kind of,
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Where it's like some sort of exchange.
like a
Like,
familiar.
yeah. Well, okay. Now, so the thought I've been mulling is that it's not maybe a Bigfoot, but maybe there's some sort of paranormal entity that's used. It's like drawing kids out, like it's something that was able to sort of get access to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, but you bring up the idea of of a familiar being a Bigfoot is again, that's a really interesting idea because it brings it right back to the idea that these things are that maybe they're all supernatural. Maybe the idea that again, I put out my bias on this is that only naturally existing biological entities crap and procreate and all that. Maybe they are some form of familiar, right? That may not be a bad interpretation of them, and that somehow the that's why it was there. And then the question though is why aren't people finding it anymore beyond the fact that it's just you got it on your cell phone. That's not a bad, I mean, that's a really interesting question. If there's, I think maybe the Bigfoot aspect of it is shoehorning it. but I don't know that it is. But I don't think it's off limits to say that there may be some connection to the phenomena in general. That's actually a really good question. Forest
What
porn.
if? Okay, so we
What
talked
if they're
earlier
fate
about
traps?
yeah, maybe.
Okay. Okay,
So
continue.
what if all these people in the cryptid community who talk about
Mhm.
bringing firearms on these Bigfoot hunts, maybe they had it all wrong. Maybe what they really needed to bring, or what I would bring if I had to go on a Bigfoot hunt, would be a bunch of like
Hustlers.
playboys and hustlers and penthouses. And if once I encounter a Bigfoot, I would just whip out the center folds and stick it out. And then the Bigfoot would be like, "Oh, who is this man with the funny looking eyes? He brings what we seek." Because they
Hey,
never seen a guy who looks like me before. Clearly not. I mean, the people
right.
squatching don't look like me.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, "This
And
guy looks so
you
unique."
start throwing hustlers at them, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, hold on. This is what our baculum needs." And then you can be like, "Well, hey, I can keep bringing you the penthouses, but
Take me to your
I'm gonna
leader.
need I'm gonna need you to go ham on some dudes who owe me some money."
Yeah.
And then you can
We
find
may
out how they use baseball bats.
we may have figured out the secret behind communicating with Bigfoot or establishing diplomatic relations. Bring the
Pornography.
gift of
The gift of
penthouse.
pornography, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, again, I know this is a gag, but I know you're only 50% kidding. And the thing is, you've got a really like this. I really hadn't thought about forest porn as a phenomena, but you're right.
Almost
It is a
every dude
weird.
I know who's our age has at some point discovered.
Yeah. That's an interesting question. All right, that's an interesting question. We're gonna need to. I think we need to explore. There needs to be some level of exploration here because I don't think. I think you may have inadvertently stumbled
Unlock the secrets
upon.
of the universe. Hey, man, that's what I do on a Saturday, man.
Yeah, sure. But no, I think you may actually have stumbled across a really interesting question here. So okay,
Yeah.
something to
So
force. Fey trap, Bigfoot bait.
forest porn.
Yeah, forest porn. Okay, I mean we're gonna talk about random staircases found in the woods. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Don't even get me started on that. I don't even
Yeah,
like to think about all that.
we'll do that. I've done a show on that before. Those are fun.
Okay.
Anyway, before we head out, Jason,
Yeah.
is there anything you would like to plug?
Well, I imagine most people watching the show knows about Jason McLean Questions Everything. So yeah, go like, follow, and subscribe over there because you can
Yeah.
also see Donnie over there.
You can also see me there. Yep.
Yeah. Although we are probably the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be recording with some other people as well. It's not that Donnie's going anywhere. It's I need to question things. And again, I'm going to do a
Yeah.
lot more solo shows because this is the first time I've been on his new channel, and you notice we're over an hour into this show.
And you're
Everything
the
else
first
he's
guest.
done is 10 minutes, dude. Everything you've done is like 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
I'm on here and it's an hour. We've never done anything less than half an hour.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Even when we try to do something less than half an hour.
Yeah, we tried. We can't do it. We are physically incapable. Like if it's like I'm gonna do some Joe Biden corruption stuff where I'm gonna explain the whole thing. I can do that in 10 minutes, no problem. But if you were on there, it'd be a 3-hour show.
Yeah, because I'd be like, what kind of information are you bringing me? And I'd be all shocked.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, before we sign off tonight, Jason,
Yes.
what are your plans for the rest of the weekend? Are you going to go and check out that new Indiana Jones movie I've been hearing about?
No, not this week. I'm just really busy this week.
So you are going to watch it?
I'm going to give it like a week or two. I want a few of my friends to see it and then have them tell me. Because here's the thing. There is a person who does reviews that she's just sort of a normal person, and she does review movies on the side, and she actually liked it. She did say it was like a 6 out of 10. And so I'm like, okay, I'll wait and hear. Her observation was the director understood the narrative, but not the story, or maybe the story, but not the narrative. Like it was missing something, right?
Mhm.
And it's really interesting because I've heard a lot of, because a friend of mine saw The Flash. I was going to go see The Flash on Tuesday, but that's fallen through. I may just wait for it to show up on Max. Why they changed it from HBO Max, I have no clue. But he said, yeah, The Flash is good, but it's like a 6 out of 10. I'm noticing a lot of people are saying things are 6 out of 10s. Like it seemed like it's better than average, but it's also not great. And I'm wondering if there's maybe a conversation to be had there. But yeah, so
you're curious to see if it's as bad as people say it is.
Yeah, that's basically where I'm at, but I'm also willing to not see it and just pretend it stopped at 3.
I just don't feel right giving them my money anymore. Those motherfuckers.
Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong.
Fuckers. Yeah. I just don't want to. I'd rather pirate it, like out of principle.
see it for free. Like that's honestly okay. I won't say it. I'm just saying I've seen a few other things that way as well, for that same reason. And I think we're gonna have other people on to talk about that kind of stuff on your channel as well. But yeah, I mean, my interest, like I wasn't interested in seeing it at all, but I heard that one review. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let a few other friends. I'm gonna send a few other canary in the coal mine, see what they say. Then I'll reassess my willingness to see it.
Yeah, I don't know, because I heard watching Indiana Jones was like watching Rise of Skywalker.
So here's the thing, I've heard that too. I have heard that as well.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm more excited for Dune 2 or Dune Part 2. And
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, that looks amazing. Across the Spider-Verse may have competition with that one because that first Dune is so good.
I still gotta watch it Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh, yeah. It's worth it. No, it's worth it. That and Babylon 5 has its first animated spin-off movie this year, coming out in August. So I am beyond thrilled for that. We got to do a video on Babylon 5 because it's the best thing ever.
Oh, we will. Pretty soon, folks. Eventually, Jason and I, we're going to do some pop culture themed topics, comic book themed topics. We'll be doing some on stuff like Star Wars and sci-fi. So I hope you guys take interest. This isn't going to be only paranormal cryptid stuff. There will be some, but for those of you who watched our previous shows we did on Texas and Rob's channels, you know that the second hour was always kind of us kind of indulging in our mutual fascination with pop culture and comic books and video games and that kind of stuff. So you'll see some of that as well, especially with Jason on. But yeah, thanks for everyone for listening, and peace out.